Today, we're diving into something I think we can all relate to, building an architecture of self-worth. We're going to talk about how to reclaim your own importance, especially when you feel like you've become invisible. Let's get right into it. So let's start with this question, because it's a feeling we all know. You say something in a meeting, you send a text to a friend, you try to connect with someone you care about, and you just get cricket noise, silence. It's this hollow feeling that can sometimes sting way more than an outright argument. And that feeling, that silence, it really does a number on you, doesn't it? It's not some big dramatic event. It's more like a slow, quiet leak. Every time it happens, it just chips away a tiny piece of your sense of worth, making you question everything about yourself. But I want to be really clear about this right from the start. That feeling is absolutely real, but the conclusion we jump to, it's just plain wrong. Being ignored is not a final judgment on how important you are, not even close. A lot of the time, this is actually a habit. It's a pattern we've learned, maybe from our family, our job, or old relationships, where we were basically taught, either out loud or subtly, to always put ourselves last. But the best part about habits? They can be unlearned. So that brings us to our first major section. This is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about, the core mindset shift. And it all boils down to one powerful idea. Most of the time, it's not actually about you. I mean, really think about it. The reasons people might ignore you often have absolutely nothing to do with your value. They could just be completely swamped with their own stuff. Maybe they're feeling insecure, or, let's be honest, just caught up in their own world. And in groups, it's often the loudest person who gets the attention, not the wisest. And here's the kicker. Sometimes just being too available makes it easy for people to take you for granted. So this right here is the fundamental switch. This is the move. We have to go from asking that painful internal question, what's wrong with me, to a much more curious external one. What's going on with them? See, this isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about taking that heavy weight of their reaction off of your own shoulders. And this is the mantra you've got to tattoo on your brain. Their response reflects their bandwidth, not my value. Say it to yourself. That silence, that one-word text, that lack of enthusiasm. It's a snapshot of their capacity in that exact moment. It was never, ever a measurement of your worth. Okay, so once we get that mindset dialed in, it's time to change our actions. And that brings us to our second section, how to reclaim your energy by learning to stop overgiving. You know the feeling. When you feel that sting of being ignored, what's our first instinct? It's to try harder, right? We send that follow-up text, we start explaining our point in 5 different ways. We basically hang around, hoping they'll finally throw us a bone of validation. But here's the thing, that reaction completely backfires. All it does is train the people around you. It sends a clear message that your time, your thoughts, your energy, it's all just on tap, available whenever, with zero effort required on their part. It actually devalues the very attention you're trying to get. So we need a new protocol, a new game plan. It's really simple, just 3 steps. 1, say what you need to say one time, nice and clear. 2, if you get nothing back, you step back. That's it. No chasing, no pleading, no re-explaining. And 3, this is the most important part, you redirect that energy somewhere else. Put it back into yourself. We can call this selective availability. And let's be super clear here. This is not about playing mind games. It's not the silent treatment. It's about making a conscious choice. It is a powerful act of self-respect, where you decide that your energy is a valuable resource, and you, and only you, choose where to invest it. And that leads us perfectly into our third big idea. If you're redirecting all that energy, where do you point it? Well, you use it to build a private life and fortify your own core. Because here's what happens. When your own inner world, your hobbies, your thoughts, your projects, is rich and interesting and exciting to you, the silence from other people just gets quieter. Their validation goes from being something you desperately need to something that's just nice to have. It loses its power over you. So how do you start? You start small, with what I call daily non-negotiables. And hey, we're not talking about a life overhaul. This can be just 30 or 45 minutes a day. Just commit to 3 little things. One thing that helps you grow, maybe learning a few words in a new language. One thing that calms you down, like a walk without your phone. and one thing that just plain excites you, a side project or just geeking out on something you love.
Now, while you're building this amazing inner world, you also have to change your inner conversation, and it can start with the simplest phrase. When you feel that old sting of being ignored, you just turn inward and tell yourself, I see you. You become your own witness. And then you give yourself the credit that maybe you're not getting from the outside. You acknowledge your own effort. Maybe you spoke up in that meeting and no one said anything. So what? You tell yourself, hey, you showed up today. That counts. And all of this builds to this one fundamental, rock-solid truth. You don't need anyone's reply, anyone's approval, anyone's validation to take up space in this world. You just don't need permission to exist. All right, this brings us to our final and maybe the most powerful section of all. We can call it the ultimate power move, and it's all about learning to consciously choose your environment. So I want you to really ask yourself this question and be honest. If you're in a specific situation, a job, a friend group, a relationship, and you consistently feel unheard or taken for granted or just plain invisible, what is that feeling actually telling you? Here is the reframe that will change everything. That feeling is just data. It is not proof that you're flawed. It is a data point telling you about the environment you're in. The hard truth is, some soils are never going to be able to grow the kind of plant you are. And that is not a failure on your part. And that leads us to the final, most important truth of this whole thing. And I really want you to let this sink in. You don't become important when other people finally decide to choose you. Your importance is not a light switch that someone else gets to flip on. You become important the moment you choose yourself. Consistently. In the small decisions, in the boundaries you set, in the way you talk to yourself, in the rich inner world you build. Especially when nobody else is watching. That is the real architecture of self-worth. That's where your power has been hiding all along.